Go. He'll come in.
Well, you do.
All right, good evening, everyone. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I know. He's always got to be stirring up trouble.
All right. Welcome, everyone, to our regularly scheduled council meeting. Roll call, please.
Councilmember Bozick.
Here.
Councilmember Rivas.
Here.
Councilmember Conover.
Present.
Councilmember Graham. Here. Councilmember Jessen.
Here.
Councilmember Larson.
Here.
And Councilmember Witten.
I am also here.
7 present.
Thank you. Next up, we've got our first reading.
Notice the taxpayers have proposed additional appropriation. Notice is hereby given the taxpayers of Porter County, Indiana, that the proper legal officers of Porter County will meet in the Porter County Government Administration Building located at 155 Indiana Avenue, Valparaiso, Indiana, on September 24th at 5:30 p.m. to consider the following additional appropriations in excess of the county budgets for the year 2018 and to transact any further business which might come before the council. General Fund, Sheriff, 1130, overtime $40,000, local roads and streets, 1169, contractual, $39,810. Parks Non-Reverting Fund, 1179. Event expenses, $15,000. Recorders Perpetuation Fund, 1189. Contractual services, $196,000. Data processing equipment, $93,000. Public Defender Supplemental Fund, $1,200. Legal, $40,000. Sheriff Donation Fund, $4108. Police K-9, $13,000. Inmate Processing Fund, $4911. Data processing equipment, $34,000. Court Interpreter Grant Fund, $9108. Interpreter, $1,817.40. PCC RBC Fund, $7304. Advertising, $80,000. Taxpayers appearing at such meeting shall have a right to be heard thereon. The additional appropriations as finally made will be referred to the Indiana Department of Local Government Finance, which will make a written determination as to the sufficiency of funds to support the appropriations made within 15 days of a receipt of a certified copy of the action taken. Vicki Urbanek, Auditor of Porter County, published September 14th, 2018.
All right. Thank you, Ms. Vicki.
Thanks, Vicki. You did a great job.
It was fast.
Really hit it out of the park on that one.
I can read.
So starting this evening, we've got Judge Clymer.
I'll make a motion to approve the $40,000 Public Defender Supplemental.
Second. Okay, first and second, any questions or comments? Looks like it's needed for the expert testimony of defense trial.
Yeah, we'll get to that. Just a minute. You wait for it.
Hearing no discussion or questions, all those in favor, roll call, please.
Councilmember Rivas?
Yes.
Councilmember Conover?
Yes.
Councilmember Graham?
Yes.
Councilmember Jessen?
Yes.
Councilmember Larson?
Yes.
Councilmember Witten?
Yes.
And Councilmember Bozick.
Yes.
7-0.
Since Judge Clymer's here also for Judge Bradford, I'll make a motion to approve the 181740 General Court Interpreter Fund.
Second.
We've got a first, we've got a second, multiple seconds. Any questions or comments? Okay, hearing none, roll call, please, again.
Yes. Councilmember Conover?
Yes.
Councilmember Graham?
Yes.
Councilmember Jessen?
Yes.
Councilmember Larson?
Yes.
Councilmember Witten?
Yes.
Councilmember Bozick?
Yes.
And Councilmember Rivas.
Yes.
7-0.
Thank you, Judge. Have a good evening.
Have a good night.
So if we've got Extension Office.
I'll make a motion on the $5,200 transfer.
We got a first.
Second.
All right.
We got a second.
Okay.
Okay, any questions or comments?
Didn't we discuss this the other night?
We can discuss it again. I just wanted to get the discussion on the table.
Okay.
All right.
How you guys doing?
Yeah, so do we have this, the
We got
discussion
some-
with the copy machines? We had a great deal of discussion about copy machines at our budget meeting.
We left it off because we were going to buy a new one and give them their old one.
Yeah, that's,
But
and you guys
they didn't
agreed to
handle the
that, right?
contract we were under, I thought. That was the problem.
So you're removing from salaries, and you don't think you're going to need that money in salaries?
That was there because we had a vacancy in the office when Angel Like left that position in our
Okay.
support staff, and then we had a little time before we hired Sheila Diaz upstairs, so we had extra in that fund for that.
So you're thinking that with the vacancy that you had in that office, you could support the $5,200?
Yes.
My questions.
Anyone else have any questions?
I do have a question. There was a pretty expensive maintenance contract with that cop.
have we looked at that? Is there any,
That part, I know Annetta Jones is our office director, and she spoke with you last week. I don't know about the maintenance contract.
I'm not sure. I know she has been extended talks with the company, and I'm not sure.
Have we been given, I think at one point we asked for all these contracts in the county. Have we gotten those yet?
that'd be something I'd like to see, just
I mean-
before we approve this, at least in my opinion, I'd like to see what the maintenance agreement was on that file.
Yeah, make sure you can.
So could you guys get that for us?
We could. I know Annetta's at her national conference this week, and so she was unable to be here,
Well,
so.
sounds like we want to wait till next meeting. Is that what
Want
I'm
to
hearing?
table it?
Yes. Oh, I need a motion, correct? to do that?
Motion to table.
You got a
Second.
first, second? Any other questions or comments? So if you guys could make sure you get that to
Sure.
us.
All right.
All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign.
Aye.
Motion good.
Okay, motion carries, thank you.
Did someone vote no?
Jeremy.
Really, one
You
second.
voted against your table.
We let you use it.
Thank you.
I was ready to give it to you today, that's why I voted
So
no.
back to my question, have we received those? We asked for, we had this prolonged discussion about contracts and contracts being signed and then finding about it later and all this stuff. Have we ever gotten those?
we have not gotten those. I mean, part of the question would be too, is if the Commissioner's Office is reviewing and signing those maintenance agreements, which I think they should.
Right.
And once they sign them, then they should be available for our review.
Yeah, I haven't been presented anything.
And I did talk to Scott about the two long-term leases, because that was brought up at the last meeting. I got a copy, but in terms of these maintenance agreements, I was focused more on the long-term leases. I got a copy last night of the Health Department lease, and there's a 90-day opt-out. I was going to email that to everyone. Soil and water, I'm waiting for a copy of that, but apparently it's less than $1,000 a year because it's mainly paid for by federal funds. So in terms of these maintenance agreements, I haven't seen any of those, but I checked in terms of the long-term contracts.
So I think what you probably ought to do is you probably ought to get copies of any, obviously, with respect to the long-term contracts, it's a problem when we're told they expire in 2000, whatever, 16, and then they're renewed in 14, and no one knows.
Right.
So those are the kinds of things we're trying to avoid. But certainly with the maintenance contracts, if they're going to eat into the general fund, we need to know that, So if maybe you could send a shout-out to Scott and tell him to fire those bad boys off to us so we can take a peek.
And in the spirit of communication, I'm sure the Commissioners too want to, if they're not currently signing those agreements, I would think that they would, based on the communication they've had with us. So they should have the opportunity to review it. I think it also, when we're talking about copy machines and so forth, I would assume, I don't know if that's been covered or reviewed by the IT department, which I think would be an appropriate thing to have them agree to the purchase, or it makes sense to them, and the maintenance agreement makes sense to them. They're are expert in that field, and so for them to take a look at it probably would make some sense as well.
Well, there was mentioned it was like $250 a month when she was in here the other night, so that's just kind of frightening to me to sign an agreement that we don't really know what that's going to amount to. So.
Yeah, that's true. Right on, man.
All right, anyone else have anything? Okay, next up this evening, we've got the Sheriff's Department.
I'm going to make a motion for the $40,000 overtime.
Second.
Okay, any questions or comments? And this will be reimbursed to us once it's paid out. Okay, hearing none, Vicki, roll call, please.
Councilmember Graham?
Yes.
Councilmember Jessen?
Yes.
Councilmember Larson?
Yes.
Councilmember Witten?
Yes.
Councilmember Bozick?
Yes.
Councilmember Rivas?
Yes.
And Councilmember Conover?
Yes.
7-0.
I'll also make a motion on the sheriff's donations for $13,000.
Second.
Okay, and this is to pay for the K-9 for money donated from individuals wanting to help fund it. Any questions or comments? Okay, Vicki, again, roll call, please.
Yes. Councilmember Jessen?
Yes.
Councilmember Larson?
Yes.
Councilmember Witten?
Yes.
Councilmember Bozick?
Yes.
Councilmember Rivas?
Yes.
Councilmember Conover?
Yes.
Councilmember Graham?
Yes.
7-0.
Okay, next up to the jail.
I'll make a motion on the $34,000 to data processing equipment inmate processing fund.
Second.
Okay, we've got a first and second. Any questions or comments?
Seems like a great system. We've been stenciling that in our own computer this whole time, and now it's going to be barcoded.
Well, they've been using index cards too, which is so inadequate.
So-
And actually, it's
Not barcode.
spurred on by a law that was, in March of this year, that all rape kits have to be scanned.
We're going
They
to
have to be
barcode,
barcoded
we're going to barcode them after they're convicted too. Keep
after they're
track of that.
convicted, yeah.
Does that only go for rape kits, or is that all?
We're not actually barcoding people, Jeff.
Well, that was the law the state mandated, was all rape kits have to be barcoded now, but we have such an inadequate system, that's why we
It's
want
going to utilize for other things?
that too, yeah, it'll be all evidence. It's a system of all evidence.
I mean, it's running so smoothly, the inmates they love it. They don't want to leave.
Yeah.
In fact, get nothing but thumbs up on the Facebook. from
Yeah,
the
oh, yeah.
That's something that we've seen other departments use, correct? I mean, I think Valpo's doing that.
Yes, Valpo's doing it.
I get nothing from that.
I giggle.
Well, I guess it was simple. I gave you a letter from Jeff that he had tried to send, but I didn't know if everyone got it. And also, just want to let you know why the sheriff wasn't here. We want to make sure. He was invited to, asked to do a symposium by the Secretary of Family and Social Services down in Indy. And that's where he's at, and I gave you, they also wanted to talk about our HORT team and also talk about what we do in the jail. So what you have, I gave you our PowerPoint that he's taken down there to do in front of the symposium.
I thought it was because it was his birthday.
Yeah.
Yeah, no.
That's great.
All right, so we have a first and second. Any other questions or comments in regards to the inmate processing plan? Hearing none, roll call, please.
Councilmember Larson?
Yes.
Councilmember Witten?
Yes.
Councilmember Bozick?
Yes.
Councilmember Rivas?
Yes.
Councilmember Conover?
Yes.
Councilmember Graham?
Yes.
Okay, and Councilmember Jessen?
Yes.
7-0.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Anything else? Have a good evening. Thanks for coming. Next up this evening, we have the Highway Department.
I'll make a motion to approve the $39,810 to contractual.
Second.
First and second, any questions or comments?
Reimburse striping roads, what, state roads, we do pay for extra?
Earlier this year, I got a grant, $40,000, for striping of thermoputting thermoplastic around the railroad crossings. So we did 32 railroad crossings at a total of $39,810. That's what they reimbursed us for.
Awesome.
Great.
So
Very good.
we're going to go back, and this should do about 25 more miles of just regular paint striping for the roads, so
Good deal.
that's
We'll
what
do
this
that
is
on our
for.
own now?
Not
We're
yet,
not there yet, right? We didn't get the machine yet?
not that one. No, we'll work on that next year, though.
Anyone else have anything else? Okay, hearing none, roll call, please.
Councilmember Witten?
Yes.
Councilmember Bozick?
Yes.
Councilmember Rivas?
Yes.
Councilmember Conover?
Yes.
Councilmember Graham?
Yes.
Councilmember Jessen?
Yes.
Councilmember Larson?
Yes.
7-0.
Good job.
Thank you very much.
Hey, have a good evening, sir.
You too.
Next up, we have our recorder.
I'll make a motion on both of these additionals from Recorder's Perpetuation Fund.
Second. Okay, first and second, anyone have any questions or comments?
I know we've asked this before, but this fund currently is in pretty good shape, right? Right, John?
Yes.
Cash balance,
Yes.
547.
Yes.
Awesome.
Okay, anyone else have any questions?
How's it going, John?
Very good, sir.
Hearing none, roll call, please.
That's a question.
I went with it.
Yeah. Councilmember Bozick?
Yes.
Councilmember Rivas?
Yes.
Councilmember Conover?
Yes.
Councilmember Graham?
Yes.
Councilmember Jessen?
Yes.
Councilmember Larson?
Yes.
And Councilmember Witten?
Yes.
7-0.
Thank you for coming.
Thank you.
Thanks, John. Take care, man.
Next up, we have Development and Stormwater Management.
I'll make a motion on both transfers, $6,000 and $7,500.
Okay, we got a first and second. Anyone have any questions?
Pretty self-explanatory.
Okay, hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Thank you very much. Next up, Parks and Rec.
I'll make a motion on the additional $15,000 to event expenses and the Form 144. I'll make a motion on both.
Second.
Okay, first and second. Any questions or comments?
Question, Walter, if you just kind of explain a little bit about how that particular event works in terms of funding, like total costs and...
The Winter Lights Festival.
Yeah.
So primarily every year, it's paid for through sponsorships. On average, we develop about as much in sponsorship revenue as we have in expenses for that particular festival. This year, we just ran into a blip. One of the things we planned on last year was charging our summer camp field trips. through a different line item, and the auditor's office informed us that State Board of Accounts said, no, you can't do it through that line item. It should go through event expenses. So for this year, all of our summer camp field trips, all the buses, all the zoo and museum admissions, all went through event expenses, thus depleting that line item.
So what's the total, what would you approximate the total cost of the Winter Lights Festival to cost?
Our budget is exactly $15,000 for this year.
The total dollars, just...
Expenses, correct.
Does that include making them throughout the year and stuff, or?
Well, we didn't buy any new displays for this year. Yeah, well,
What was it, Tom?
we can have that conversation on Wednesday night. Very happy to.
Why don't you take over all your stuff you got at your house and take it?
I don't know if I can avoid the electric bill for that one.
Do we have a total, do we know what we get in donations to that festival?
Yes.
We have a cash box out there, and I know we collect quite a few of those.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Correct, yep. We do know exactly how much comes through there.
And that is?
It varies every year. It's totally seasonal or weather dependent. So if we don't have giant snowstorms, I mean, there's been years where we'll make more than 10 grand will come through there over the course of 6 weeks. I mean, you literally get everything from cards from the neighbors saying thank you to, the sweetest, and it just breaks your heart. Little kid puts, literally, we've had Ziploc baggies with their change and a note to Santa. I mean, it's incredible.
Dan, is that you?
That was me, I always say no.
So yeah, but then, we can also get 3 weeks of horrible snow, and Rich and his crew are out there every single night, and, nobody comes, and nobody comes out. So we don't bet on that. I don't ever bank on that revenue coming in. That's just gravy.
So when little kids leave notes for Santa, how do you deal with those? Do you forward them on, or?
Well, yeah, we actually, Dan, believe it or not, Santa was in
Okay.
last week,
He doesn't
confirming
believe it.
his attendance. Well, he was pretty concerned about the upcoming budget year.
Even
though he was naughty and nice to me, so I said, I don't know, I'll call him after Wednesday night and see how it goes.
Anyone else have anything for Walter? Hearing none, we need roll call, please.
Councilmember Rivas?
Yes.
Councilmember Conover?
Yes.
Councilmember Graham?
Yes.
Councilmember Jessen?
Here.
Councilmember Larson?
Yes.
Councilmember Witten?
Yes.
And Councilmember Bozick?
Yes.
7-0.
Thank you very much. Good luck this year. Next up, we have the animal shelter.
So Councilman Jessen responded with here. Does that count as a yes or a no, Madam Auditor?
I was wondering what was going on. I was hoping he was here the whole time.
He was here on time.
Good evening, guys. How you guys doing today?
How are things going at the animal shelter? Good?
You're going marvelously.
Awesome. I'll make a motion to approve these transfers.
Second.
Okay, we got a first and second. Anyone have any questions, comments?
Yeah,
So we're good on these funds? We have the money to do this?
excuse me, I didn't mean to.
I know, but I just knew that my question was going to be more important.
Oh.
Let me answer Jeremy's question first, because he gets very upset.
What's your question?
This better be a good one.
He's got to think of one now.
Yeah, I don't know. No, for the previous years,
Mhm.
or comp time for previous years, I mean, how far are we going back here? I don't know. So-
Well, I took.
Comp time's a whole other conversation we're yet to have.
I know.
And she's cleaning it up.
I'm cleaning it up, so we won't have this conversation in the future. This went back to probably at least 2013, 2014.
And these employees no longer work, or they still work for you?
This is one of them
One
right
of
here.
them? You here to claim your money? Is that why you're here?
One reason.
To me, it seems like bad precedent to start doing that. Is that, I mean, there's no way to get it back to them? Just personal question.
No. The two employees are very relevant to the shelter, and to give them this many hours back, I'd have to be without them for months. So,
You don't think that bad, wow.
yeah, they let it
So
go.
you don't, all right, so what are we talking about for, maybe I missed it because Jeremy was talking over my thinking. What, how many hours are we talking about here?
One employee had 390 hours, and another employee had 221.
Oh, is this at their pay at that time?
No, I believe they had to
Is that
pay
their
out
current rate?
what's their current rate.
So Scott, this is just based upon, because I know we changed things over, we went into, drilled down on the comp time, had the old exempt employees, gave everybody a strong finger wagging and said, start complying with the county ordinances. So how far back are we talking about, 390 hours and 221 hours?
Well, I think all of that predates her being the director.
Right.
So it goes back to our previous director.
All right, so when you guys, like, I've seen the comp time reports, and some of them are shocking, frankly, but worse than this, believe it or not. So how far back do those go? Because I thought those didn't go back forever. I thought that there was at some point you drilled down and got everybody on target, and...
Yeah, we have been working with the animal shelter for probably actually longer than this last foray into this, attempting to get this whittled down. But it's an issue of inheriting a mountain and trying to, as we've got a new animal shelter, et cetera, et cetera. So her issue is, I mean, that goes back, how long have you been the animal director?
Well, 4 years.
So, I mean, this probably was built up over a 2-year period of time, 6 years ago.
Okay. So how do we have people with comp time carrying for 6 years?
And what other departments have that?
Yeah, tell me where
Well, I
that
think, didn't you say that they're very,
That's just...
people that are very viable to the program, you
I
can't
mean, we
do
have
without
things
them.
like
You got a comp time report?
local, we have local county ordinances, and then there's that pesky law. So, I mean...
Federal law.
How is that possible, I guess, is my, this isn't you, this predates you, but, I mean, because there's people that are going to come in front of us during the budget sessions, and it doesn't predate them, it's them. And so my question is going to be, how did that happen? What have you done to rectify this glaring problem? And how are you going to pay this person, because the rest of the county isn't going to pay them. We're not going to roll your pay out to, the recorder's office, for example. You're going to pay for it from your department. So do we have other folks that go back 6 years that we just sort of carried it over?
Vicki said she could shed some light on this.
Yeah, please.
Something with the animal shelter. One of the things that we had noticed under our old payroll system is that supervisors were supposed to regularly turn in vacation time, sick time, comp time taken, but not all supervisors did. And that's why we needed to make some enhancements. With the animal shelter, after we received the employee service record cards a few years ago, we noticed that a few employees, well, maybe one in particular, had a lot of comp time that was never reported in the system. So that's how her comp time soared through the roof. And I even called her and I said, Tony, what's going on here? And she wasn't aware of it because you inherited it. It was not under her watch. So that's what happened in her case. And other departments have different.
Yeah, I'm not, and this isn't an indictment on the animal shelter, because I get it. I know how this went down, and it's not on your watch. But my head scratching and frankly, just absolute amazement is that some other departments have let it get into the hundreds of hours, and it is under their watch. And the old, I was short and didn't want to come to the council, and this, that, and the other, is glaringly mismanagement. And that is an excuse that will not be accepted by me anyway. So that's going to be some hard conversations during the budgets. But from your perspective, you don't anticipate in the next year having this kind of...
No, I'm keeping track of everybody's comp time coming into me. It has to be approved by me now. I watch it every day.
And I don't think any of this has been added to. I mean, I don't think she has any other issues since she's been the director, so she must be managing comp time appropriately as far as for the last 4 years.
My biggest fear is that other departments are going to make the same request, and they have. That's why I can't vote for it, just so you know.
Well, and I think that, and I don't disagree with you, Andy, but I do think that, for example, in her situation, she's transferring money to try to deal with it internally, and that is what we are going to mandate the other departments to do.
Well, and Andy, the other issue is that if because we've explored the option of this person has to go use their time.
Right.
That just creates somebody else getting paid. So, to some extent, you're just moving things around. Okay, and so that's ultimately the issue became in this scenario, where at first I think it was, let's get the place running correctly, and we'll deal with the comp time. Well, then it was a new animal shelter, and then it was,
okay, do we have a window to tell somebody not to come in 2 days a week for the foreseeable future? And that's just not something that the shelter can withstand without a replacement of some sort. And then we're just back into part-time money or some other avenue, somebody else getting paid. I mean, so that was.
And I understand that, it's just the precedent that scares me.
No, and Andy, and I understand that, because I think we might, I mean, who knows? In some of these departments, we might have an employee that has been allowed to exploit the system and rack up comp time, because no one was at the wheel. And you don't want to reward those folks, but the fact of the matter is, due to gross and utter mismanagement of the elected official or department head, this employee or employees has been able to rack up comp time. They're entitled to be paid for it in some shape, form, or fashion, and we have to deal with it. But I'm just telling you, they're going to deal with it in their budgets. That's my suggestion. Otherwise, it just isn't fair to everybody else.
And to keep an eye on it, Dan, is they may do an additional now, and I'm surely not talking about you, just anybody. They may do a transfer now, but, I mean, this is $13,000. That transfer now could be disguised an additional later for something else to cover that cost.
Right.
Of
It's an interesting
management.
It's an interesting vote because it has to coin Councilman Larson, we've been handed a big bag of garbage, and so we have to deal with it. And I don't know that there's great answers for it, but other than to make the department head find the money and keep track of it, so they don't come back and say, oh, gosh, based on our wonderful shell game, we want you to transfer this other money later on.
Are we aware of anything else like this that comes close to something that dates back that?
You mean other departments?
Yeah.
Oh, there's some big ones.
Besides something that hasn't current?
Yeah, but I think asking Jeremy's specific question, I am not aware of another department that has something 4 years old.
There's some that have hours this big, but they don't go back that far.
Nothing cleaning up, like.
So in other words, this, I think from a timing of it being old is unique. I'm not saying it's unique in the sense of departments having, I think there's 5 or 6 departments that have one.
I'm just glad you're trying to take care of it.
Maybe 3 or 4 departments that have.
We got to get to that point.
But they're not 5 years old and haven't been taken care of.
Can we get a list of overtime?
You got
Or comp?
the comp time, yeah, I mean,
And you say that, but where do I get it? Who has it?
Vicki.
Okay, thank you. Thank you.
Vicki, you were kind enough to generate that one, and frankly, I just saw a couple of lines on it, and it just shocked the conscience, so I decided we had to have a big conversation during budget time, but could you get everybody a
Absolutely.
updated one? Thanks.
Do we have it
We
before
issue
we
it
start the
monthly.
next meeting?
Yeah.
We'll give it to you tonight.
I don't mind.
Yes,
We make a
tonight.
motion on this to
Every 2
accept this?
There's a motion.
We have a motion and a second.
I guess
Just waiting
I'd
for
like to say,
discussion
this
then.
is not about you, and thank you for your service, because you worked through some pretty hellacious times, and there really wasn't a lot available, and it's not you coming to us, it's something that the auditor needs to put the county in compliance with. Thank you both. Yeah.
No clients, no.
All right, anyone else have anything?
Mr. Chairman, can we have a roll call?
Yes, roll call, please.
Roll call. Okay, Councilmember Conover?
Yes.
Councilmember Graham?
Yes.
Councilmember Jessen?
Yes.
Councilmember Larson?
Yes.
Councilmember Britton?
Yes.
Councilmember Bozick?
No.
No. And Councilmember Rivas?
Yes.
Okay, 6 to
Motion
1.
carries. Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Have a good evening. Okay, next up, we have our tourism board, innkeepers, tax collection.
I'm going to make a motion on the $80,000 advertising additional innkeepers tax collection fund. How is that fund? What is in that? You say, Lorelei, how's it going?
Good.
Mitch, good seeing you again, it's always a pleasure.
Nice tie.
Thank you, sir, same to you. You got to talk to the people that once in a while.
Shut up, Dan. So we're looking to move $80,000 or additional $80,000 for advertising, correct?
Correct. It doesn't come out of the general fund. It's just, these are one-time projects that have,
How much do you have in that fund, Mitch?
I don't know.
In the operating fund, we have about 70,000, and then we have our money that we don't touch fund. And just so you're aware, that
That's a
one...
legal description?
No, rainy day fund would be the legal designation.
But of the 80,
Do you have these, Vicki, or no? 'Cause
No,
you don't
no.
have these. Yeah.
but from the 80,000, 40,000 is going to be from a third-party source. So we are going to be the contracted group to do the new film for the National Park Service. Just so you know, normally if we did not take that project on, it'd be a $250,000 project. So that project is coming under our budget, but we have secured funds from another source.
You're doing the filming, you said?
We're going to do the film. We're going to redo the film for the National Park Service.
Oh, that's cool.
That is shown in the visitor center itself as an
You guys
orientation
named the
film.
actors, yeah, I played the wizard in the Wizard of Oz once.
Yeah, we remember.
I got a little stage training.
Every time.
That's why we don't go there anymore.
You're listening.
He has it on the back of the car. I played
it with I don't like to mention that, but it's inappropriate.
All right, do you have a motion?
I made the motion.
Oh, you did?
I did?
Okay, question that I might have would be, so on, we have the orientation film, which is separate from what you're talking about here, and which is $40,000.
So it's an $80,000 to the line item. What we're just saying is 40,000 of that is not going to be from the innkeeper's tax, it's going to be from an outside source. The other 40,000 is to pay for the other two projects that were outlined here, one which is U-Trip, which is smart technology for our website.
Explain that a little bit.
What's that?
Explain that if you
Yeah, so we belong to a 7-county tourism regional group. They're able to secure a lot of product for us at a reduced rate, and one of them is U-Trip. And what U-Trip does is, say, for example, you go to our website, and you tell us that you like history, you like to hike, you like culinary, and what it does is you fill out this little indicator, and then what we do is we start to pull things up in our destination that are going to pertain specifically to that. So if you're into hiking, we're going to start showing you our hiking listings. If you like a specific type of culinary, we're going to start showing those restaurants to you. So it's a smart technology. In July, because of the contract that our regional group negotiated, we got a very significant reduced rate to add this to our individual sites. So if we didn't do that contract in July, then we're going to have to pay the market rate. So we took advantage of that. Again, this was not a product that we knew was going to come in 2018. So that was number two. The third thing is, kind of similar to that, is creating packages. So a lot of visitors are wanting pre-thinking done. So, you know, I'm an angler, so I want to go fishing, but I also want to do dining. Well, we have not been able to figure out how to put the packages together. So our assistant director was at a conference, and we found a third-party source that can help us do that. We wanted to make sure that they weren't doing all the big destinations, because we're a much smaller destination. So we looked at what they did in Hilton Head, North Carolina, and Deadwood, South Dakota, and we're very impressed with what they've done, because those are a little bit more apples to apples with our destination. And so we're going to start phase 1 in October, and so we wanted to get this project underway. And we know that this will be significant in terms of extending the stay of the visitor and getting them into our communities and spending more money while they're here. So those are the three projects that we weren't anticipating for 2018.
So if you could just break down the cost. The orientation film is how much?
We're looking at $40,000 for that, and
And
then,
the
you know,
U-Trip?
U-Trip $10,000, and then $20,000 for the packaging, and that's just for phase 1. We will then move into phase 2 in next year.
And there's additional money that will be
Right,
spent.
right. So the biggest part right now is just researching, because you actually have to work with, for example, you have to work with, if you want to do a mixology thing, you'd have to identify a restaurant that would be willing to do that, and then getting them up to speed on what that looks like. We do see that we're going to probably do a lot more with the outfitters, trying to get birding guides, fishing guides, kayaking guides. That's one of the things that we're significantly missing in our destination.
Thank you.
Does anyone else have any questions or comments? All right, hearing none, roll call, please.
Councilmember Graham?
Yes.
Councilmember Jessen?
Yes.
Councilmember Larson?
Yes.
Councilmember Witten?
Yes.
Councilmember Bozick?
Yes.
Councilmember Rivas?
Yes.
Councilmember Conover?
Yes.
7-0.
Thank you. Thank you, guys.
Great, thank you.
We'll be back.
I was right. I'll see you guys later.
Next up this evening, we have the prosecutor, and the prosecutor victim assistance domestic violence grant
I
fund.
believe this is all grant fund increase, basically.
Correct.
I'll make a motion on the four requested 144 increases.
We got first and second. Anyone have any questions or comments?
Just a couple of quick ones. One is, when does the grant, I know when it is effective, when does it run out?
It starts anew on October 1st.
All right, is it a year?
2 years.
2 years.
Did you have
That's the
any?
only question I had.
Any other questions or comments?
And we're using, obviously, all of it for the raises? That's what I'm seeing? Just,
Yeah, here's what happened. I was requested to bring any additional pay raises, during the budget meetings, which we're willing to do, and if you look on the numbers, this is all included in that. But we've been in contact with the grant people that said, you can't retroactive these things. We got to have it in effect on October 1st. So that's why, and we met with Vicki and her staff and said, what do we got to do? And she said, well, you need to get back before the council. And so I apologize for us, adding this on at the last minute, but we kind of really didn't have a choice. But
is this a new grant or something you've had?
we've had it for,
I mean, frankly, if it weren't grant money, I would be less likely to vote for it at this point, but I get it. I understand the timing of it, so,
Yep.
sometimes it just goes that way.
I wish they had, an annual cycle like we have, but they have a fiscal year, and it just messes stuff up.
Okay. Anyone else have questions? Comments? Hearing none, roll call, please.
Councilmember Jessen?
Yes.
Councilmember Larson?
Yes.
Councilmember Witten?
Yes.
Councilmember Bozick?
Yes.
Councilmember Rivas?
Yes.
Councilmember Conover?
Yes.
And Councilmember Graham?
Yes.
7-0.
All right, thank you, Dan.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Next up, we have our second reading. Ms. Vicki?
Yes.
Like the micro machines, man?
Whereas it has been determined that it is now necessary to appropriate more money than was appropriated in the annual budget, therefore be it ordained by the Porter County Council of Porter County that for the expenses of the taxing unit, the following additional sums of money are hereby appropriated out of the funds named and for the purposes specified, subject to the laws governing the same. General Fund, $40,000. Local Roads and Streets, $39,810. Parks non-reverting, $15,000. Recorders perpetuation, total of $289,000. Public Defender Supplemental Fund, $40,000. Sheriff Donation Fund, $13,000. Inmate Processing, $34,000. Court Interpreter Grant Fund, $1,817.40, and PCC RVC, $80,000. That concludes second reading.
Thank you, Vicki.
I'll make a motion to approve second reading.
Got a first?
Second.
Second? We need roll call for that one. Roll call, please.
Roll
Ms.
call.
Vicki.
Councilmember Larson?
Yes.
Councilmember Witten?
Yes.
Councilmember Bozick?
Yes.
Councilmember Rivas?
Yes.
Councilmember Conover?
Yes.
Councilmember Graham?
Yes.
And Councilmember Jessen?
Yes.
7-0.
Thank you. Next up this evening, we have our attorney report. Mr. Harper?
Other than what we had talked about previously, there's nothing new to report. We did get the contract on the Health Department, the North County Complex, and I took a look at it. It's a year, I think it expires in August of 2019. There's a 90-day out clause, and the only other long-term lease that potentially could be problematic, and I understand that it's not, is the soil and water, and the most that I think the county's paying a year is less than $1,000. So as soon as we get a copy of that, I know Scott's trying to get that. I think the feds pay most of it from what Scott's told me. And so as soon as we get that, I'll get that to the council as well, but I did get a copy of the North County government lease.
Thank you.
For that.
Yeah, and Harold, I appreciate that information on the lease, tracking on the lease to find out where we stand and what sort of obligations might be out there that we may or may not be aware of. In addition to leases, are there other financial obligations that we're tied to as a county that we should be more familiar with or be made aware of?
Not that I'm aware of, but my thought was after the conversation earlier tonight, just send an email out to the department heads and just ask about any long-term maintenance agreements. I mean, I think the thought was originally, let's look at the long-term leases of property. And
starting point.
yeah, and but my thought was, let's send out something to all the department heads, and I was going to do that, copy that with everyone, and just say, hey, if there's anything out there, let's see what there is. I don't think there is, but we need to be aware.
Need to know.
And see,
Yeah.
if, I'd like to know if they're paid on a yearly basis, or if we could pay them quarterly. Do we have any choice in that?
And when we get to the budgets, Harold, I mean, I expect to have a little more conversation. I know you gave us sort of a quick shot across the bow kind of thought on that 4D lease, but I'd like to probably have, when we get to that in our budgets, maybe a little more detailed discussion about that, so.
And I think to follow up with Sylvia, and it's something maybe you can look into, Harold, as we get into that conversation. I thought it was brought to my attention that for that lease, we pay up front the whole year. I mean, is that customary that government would do that, just to give a lump sum up front?
I think we got in trouble for it, right?
Well, and I would have to look again to see.
Yeah, why don't we get it all, this is my suggestion, because these are great questions. I suggest or would ask that Harold, maybe when we're approaching that in our budgets, give us kind of the global at once, all of our concerns with respect to that lease.
And
If you don't mind, I mean, I don't know.
No, that's fine.
And I have, I do have some thoughts about that, and my plan was before that comes up on the budget meeting to send an email and
That'd be great.
communicate with the council in total.
Great.
That sounds awesome.
Anyone else
Thanks,
have
Harold.
anything for Harold?
Ken?
Next up, we've got any other matter that may properly come before the council. I was approached by Portage Councilman Pat Clem, who brought to me a resolution in support of the United States Steelworkers, and I'll kind of let Jeremy talk about it a little bit and read it over.
Well, and I was also approached by Pete Trinidad, who's a Portage resident, and he's also the president of 6787. So, you guys know their contract recently expired, and it's all the steelworkers across the lakefront, U.S. Steel and ArcelorMittal. ArcelorMittal, however you want to pronounce it, runs 3 of the large 4 steel mills across the lakefront. So, in just Porter County alone, I don't know the exact number, I do know the Burns Harbor plant employs like 3,300 steel workers. And that's just steel workers directly there. So if there were to be a strike, that would put not just them, but a lot of other secondary employers on the street. That's just a lot of tax dollars rolling through this community. Those, whether we know it or care to know it or not, the steel industry is vital to Northwest Indiana. And something like this could be damaging. And I know the steel workers helped their partners, the owners, 3 years ago when the steel industry was in a down cycle, and they didn't take any raises. They went 3 years without any increases. So now as the steel industry is back in an upswing a little bit, the price of steel's up, they're just asking for a little bit back. So there's just a resolution Andy has brought today just in support of the steel workers that that U.S. Steel and ArcelorMittal, just stay at the negotiating table and negotiate fairly with them, so that we don't see anything like that on this lakefront. We don't see 3,000 some steel workers out front. They need to be making steel, making a living. Those are good jobs, they're living wage jobs with benefits. So
You're going to read that?
I'm going to read it.
Just going to get
Resolution supporting U.S. Steelworkers of America. I was just setting the tone, Dan. I know you like to talk a lot, but once in a while somebody else gets a word.
I thought maybe you were stalling on having to try to read.
Whereas on March 7th, 1937, the Steelworkers Union signed the first contract with Carnegie Illinois Steel for $5 a day wage benefits. And whereas on May 2nd, 1942, the United Steelworkers of America was officially created to negotiate for steel workers. And whereas the 3-year labor agreement for 30,000 steel workers in the United States was set to expire on September 1st, 2018. Whereas ArcelorMittal, the world's largest steel maker, and U.S. Steel, the largest steel company in Lake County, are expected to negotiate with the Steel Workers Union in good faith. And whereas the Porter County Council supports the United Steelworkers of America in their fight for equity and fair treatment of current and retired steel workers. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the Porter County Council, representing the citizens and voters of Porter County, Indiana, supports the United Steelworkers of America Union and encourages ArcelorMittal and U.S. Steel to reach a fair agreement with the union. I make a motion to approve this resolution 18924.
Second.
We have a first and second. Anyone have any questions or comments?
No, kind of speaks for itself.
I personally have no problem signing that. I'll throw my name on that in a minute. So is this a roll call? Roll call, please.
Councilmember Witten.
Yes.
Councilmember Bozick.
Yes.
Councilmember Rivas.
Yes.
Councilmember Conover.
Yes.
Councilmember Graham.
Yes.
Councilmember Jessen.
Yes.
And Councilmember Larson.
Yes.
7-0.
All right, thank you. We'll get this sent off.
The only other thing, I know, Dan,
Yeah.
we had talked in the past about what's going on with the bond, and maybe Scott back there. Where we're at with spending on that, the capital improvement bond, are we on track? Are we saving money? Are we over budget? I mean, is there going to be money left over in the bond, or are you going to come back and ask for money to complete projects?
Yeah, you might need to come up for this one.
Yeah, really.
It's a long question.
Do you have an easier question? or
Nope.
do you have a-
The easier question would have been,
For what has been
How much are we getting
currently?
back?
the easier question would have been, I believe an email was sent for that information, but was ignored. So,
Yeah, I'd like to have a list of all the, where we're at with the, I'm concerned about not concerned, but interested in a couple things. One is, I'd like to get sort of a running total of how much we've expended, how much we anticipate spending based upon bids that have come in or been awarded. And then I'd like to have some update on what projects are out there for next year, so that I don't read about things in the newspaper about proposed expenditures or plans to extend or expand, or so maybe we could get that. I think that's going to be essential also to our budgeting, because, as we're repairing or expanding or building, that has an impact undoubtedly on our bottom line with operating expenses and perhaps even staffing. So if you could do that or get that for us, that would be awesome.
I mean, right now, the operating courthouse bid package 1 and 2 has been done, awarded, so that's a known factor at this point.
over budget, right on budget, under budget?
Like the original bid came in slightly under what we were budgeting for. Expo's been bid out, that came in slightly under what we originally were estimating for that to come through at. Portage is bid package 1 has been awarded, slightly under. When I mean slightly, you have to understand, I'm saying, off a $3.4 or $5 million bid award, it's $80,000 less than we thought it was going to be. So, I think the help of Skillman is obviously guiding us well on those numbers. So when I say a little, I mean little. So we have bid package number 2 for Portage to go, and then the bid package to build out lot 157. So Expo's maturing. I think we'll be able to give you some decent information on Expo as far as what they're finding as they've got into it, because they're out actively demoing, getting ready to do that. The courthouse is progressing normally. They're obviously seeing the stuff around the courthouse, fixing the exterior. So we're starting to come into focus. And we have a better idea. Do I foresee extra money at the end of the rainbow? At this point, I don't. But do I foresee us coming for extra money at this point? No, I don't either. Because it's been extremely controlled with Skillman and the expectations throughout the process. We have somebody sitting there telling us, do this, you're looking at an additional this or a minus that. So we're really not in a situation where changes are being made as plans are occurring and not knowing that that's a $400,000 change or this is a $20,000 deduction. Those are kind of being done in real time. So those estimates are being updated continuously.
We know where we're at with the old jail. I mean, are we in there? Do we know what we're going to have to spend now? How far until somebody moves in there?
I know that we're getting very close to finalizing 2 of the floor plans for 2 of the floors. The third one's not far behind, and we've got meetings set for the first floor at this point. So
Is anyone
we had
interested?
met with everybody that we said we were going to be meeting with, trying to get in there, so we've got all of those numbers, people, space, growth, and all that stuff, so.
What about the restaurant? Is there any interest in renting it out yet?
We've had some, we obviously have the RFP out in conjunction with the city for the downtown liquor license, so we've had a couple of nibbles on that, but it's a two-pronged process to go through, but it's two-pronged because of the liquor license.
I think what the council was suggesting is, as we looked at the proposal initially, we said it's going to be, $30 million, these are the projects, this is what we intend to do, approximate costs. We've obviously fast-forwarded ourselves through many of those processes, and what we're asking for is an update. And have the components changed? Have there been any spending that was unanticipated, or have we seen some reductions? And just to give us an overall update of all the projects, to know what's happening with that $30 million is the primary question.
Yeah. I
There's
think
your
right now
project.
we're running off a $26.45 million budget. The remaining up to 30 was the cost of getting the bond itself, and then the 1.5 or 2.5 for the bridges.
But I think an update on a project-by-project basis would be...
No, and and that's how it's broke down. So we've just been plugging the numbers in as we've actually got real numbers coming in, so we actually see the bids coming in.
And we can have conversations about this through the budget session, and I would ask that, I did get called by Commissioner Blaney. She was planning on being here for the IT, but then something happened, she was unable to come, and we talked about the IT's budget request. But generally speaking, through the budget session, I'd like to have a commissioner here too, just so we can ask them questions. And Commissioner Biggs was with us so short, I didn't get a chance to ask him. We hardly knew him when I was out here.
He was here?
But I think overall, I think what I can tell you is that the capital improvement plan is coming along very well and staying within the bumpers that were put out there as far as what we were talking about. I don't think there's been any radical changes in any of how much the projects cost or where the money's been allocated, or as we've kind of gone through the process here. So.
Okay. Anyone else have anything for Ms. McClure?
Basically, I do have something. I read in the paper something about the Memorial Opera House. Can you tell us anything about that?
Yeah, I guess there might be some misunderstanding of what the Memorial Opera House was. That was simply, they went out and got a grant, and got an architect to come in and say, this is what it would take to get the building back up to where it should be, and if you wanted to, here's a really rough sketch of doing some sort of addition between the museum and the Opera House. We accept the report, this is paid for, put it on the shelf.
It is not
total of that cost.
Okay.
Thank you. Yes, even if something comes down the river that is grant money, but it anticipates the potential for an expansion to an existing facility or a drastic change in the footprint, I guess I would rather have someone pick up the phone and call me and tell me, rather than read about it in the newspaper, because when people read it in the newspaper, then I get the inevitable calls, what are they doing to the Opera House?
Yeah, I would probably venture to say 90% of that report was talking about stairs and bathrooms and footings and exterior facades and brick delaminating and things like that, and there's 10% of it. If and when you ever get to the point to do any of this, this may be something to look at and to do.
Well, the article, obviously, and it doesn't mean that the article is accurate, but I believe one of the commissioners said, and the clock is ticking now. So we read about a possible expansion, a $3 million price tag, and none of us are aware of it. Now, I was aware of them looking at it, but I think it was just for the purpose of restoration and rehab, not expansion. So, and that led to me to understand, okay, well, where are we at? Are they, commissioners, thinking this is coming out of the bond? Is there extra money, or is it coming somewhere else? It's just, we have to guess because we're not being
told.
So.
We like communication, Scott.
At the end of the day, it was a report done, and it has been accepted, and you guys can all have a copy. Nobody's asking for any money, and no, it's not.
Nothing's being done.
Bond, and if and when we fix the Memorial Opera House, it's roughly $3 million. That's what the report said.
And that was actually...
That's what the newspaper...
That was actually
I can't
mentioned
control what the newspaper writes.
in a meeting that he was having that done.
We knew that was being done.
Right.
We just,
But
I know
Chairman
about
said it was
expansion.
restoration.
Right.
Yeah.
And again, I think most of it was, I just think that the architect that was doing it said, hey, by the way, if you ever did this, this might be a good idea to mesh the two.
Well, nobody just says, by the way, there's a little direction. Come on. You hire somebody, you give them a scope of work. You just don't say, hey, just go about and...
Years ago, I think that was proposed, and it was just dropped. So it might be one of those things that just come up. But it's still good to know if it's,
At the end of the day, the only point of the report was, when we are ever ready to fix the Memorial Opera House, we have an idea of what the fix would be and the cost. That's all there.
Thank you, Commissioner
I
McClure.
don't believe we paid for it.
Anyone else have anything for Attorney McClure? Okay, not hearing anything. Is there any other matters that need to come before the council? No. Not hearing any. Looking for motions to adjourn. So moved. We got a first, we got a second?
Second.
All right.